It was a really common question that I'd get. How do I find my art style? Can you help me create my art style? So on and so forth. I think we, as illustrators, always want to find that specific voice in our work because we do better expressing ourselves with visual media rather than speaking. So it becomes a goal of ours to find our voice in a more physical manner as opposed to learning how to speak, almost like translating our thoughts in a way. Then, what follows, of course, is what we can do to create our voices and how to go about that. And the answer that I gave people was always one that they were kind of disappointed by. Hi, I'm Jessie, and welcome to SpeakPaint, where you'll listen to me yap about the things I'm interested in right now while I draw something related in the background. So grab a snack, grab a drink, and take a listen with me. The way that I've explained styles in the past is that they're kind of like a cake. Think of your absolute base necessities for a cake: flour, baking soda, egg, sugar, so on and so forth. Now we think of real life, or our basics and fundamentals of art. You can think of those as the base of a cake. You can keep the cake as its main components if you'd like, but maybe you want to add chocolate, maybe you want to add sprinkles, maybe you add in buttercream frosting dyed pink, maybe you add a bunch of candles and piped roses, maybe you even add substitutes for the base ingredients, so now it's a gelatin cake, or a gluten-free cake, or a vegan cake. But you always start with the basic ingredients. You always start with the base definition of a quote-unquote cake. What we add on later is what makes each cake unique. What we add to the basics and fundamentals of art is what we call our styles. Growing up, I don't think I ever really focused on what kind of style I wanted. I remember having the thought once when I was like 7-ish maybe, when I found a how to draw manga book in my school's library, and I said out loud, I have always wanted to draw like this, because that early 2000s anime style is what all my favorite Nintendo characters were drawn in at the time. And like any other kid, I didn't really think about how I was drawing stuff, more like I'm looking at this thing and I want to draw that, so I'm just gonna copy the pretty pictures in this book. And that book was interesting though, because I actually don't remember copying it at all. I just remember scanning it a ton of times and thinking that that was gonna be me someday, you know, like looking at the pages and I'm like, that's gonna be me, that's gonna be my skill level. I don't even remember who the book was by, but it was a separate book actually that a relative bought for me, called The Big Book of Everything Manga by Christopher Hart, where I copied every little thing on those pages. Like, I think I copied them to the point where I forgot that I was copying from a book and I almost took some of those creatures in there on as like honorary OCs or something. Like, they almost became my own characters at that point. It's always tough when someone asks me when I started to get quote-unquote serious about being an artist. I honestly don't think there was ever a time I wasn't serious about being an artist when I got older, but I can say that it was around here where I actually started to focus on technique and improvement. I started to use references more, I started to get a better hang of bodily construction and anatomy, and I started to draw fan art of more and more things. In drawing fan art of more and more things, I started to absorb techniques I didn't even realize I was absorbing. A huge influence for me as a kid was Jeff Smith's Bone. A little while back, someone complimented my work and said that it reminded them of Bone, despite me never having said how much of an influence the series had on me. But it's these kinds of influences that were pivotal towards my development as an artist, right? I learned head construction from an artist who used to draw nothing but Pokemon manga fan art. I picked up the shorthand names for my layers from a Russian artist on YouTube, and to this day, I still don't really know what the letters stand for, but like, I use them anyway. Like, you see, like, it's like my sketch layer is labeled as D, and then my liner is labeled as T, and like C for color makes sense, but I don't know what T and D stand for. I don't know what those mean, but I still use them. And like a lot of kids in the early 2010s, the way that I drew dragons was altered forever when I read Wings of Fire by T. Sutherland. Not the graphic novel, by the way, the original books where they had the dragons in the front covers and you got to see how they illustrated those. Those dragons. I didn't realize there was a comic series later on. Until like somebody else showed them to me. It's like, oh yeah, I love that comic series. I'm like, what are you talking about? It's a chapter book series. But, you know, times change, I guess. I wasn't ever thinking about what my end goal was, though. I was just drawing so that I could create something I would be happy with. Other artwork made me happy, and I wanted to replicate that joy. Of course, now I'm an adult, and I've been drawing for a couple decades. I have a little more intention now when I see techniques that I enjoy, styles that I think are interesting. Change of the brush here, a test of the color there. Nothing significant, just small little droplets to continue to make sure that what I create are things that I can be proud of in the end. In high school, I fell in love with the work of Nadia Kim, and at the time, some of her most common work was her Matcha Fox series, where she painted worlds full of greenery and life. And I own a couple of her imprint prints and a couple of her art books and pins, but especially when I was in high school, I studied the way she painted like crazy. Nowadays, when I study styles, my goal is never to become the artist per se, but rather to capture that feeling that their work gave me. There's an airiness and a sense of tranquility that her environments hold that I've still never been able to replicate to this day. That goes for a lot of painted styles, really. The backgrounds for the game Tiny Echo, done by Marcus Lindgren, have this beautiful, deep grittiness that I enjoy like a ton. I tried to do a couple studies once, but that was also to no avail. I did learn a lot, but I think in the moment I half realized that I was meant to be more of a line artist than a painter. In which, outside of Bone by Jeff Smith, two artists that influenced my current work heavily were Levi Pruitt, or 𝘫𝘰𝘪𝘯, and Jorge Jimenez. I learned about 𝘫𝘰𝘪𝘯 back in 2018, which was where I had my light bulb-esque moment of, why am I struggling so hard to do this thin-ass line work when I can just do really, really thick line work? It changed my entire worldview forever and encouraged me to try line art with a brush pen. It's still my favorite traditional lining tool to this day. Jorge Jimenez I found in 2019 when I found some cover art for DC's Super Sons online, and that really pushed me to do more with my line art than just line. I began to etch, I began to shade, I began to add more nuance, I began to crave more texture, and I think the biggest yet smallest thing that I took away, and still do to this day, is how he adds highlights to his hair. I just really like that shape. I don't know why, I'm just really drawn to it. And in having that deep love for line art, I also found that I preferred to keep my coloring overall more simple, and enjoyed letting my lines do, quote-unquote, more of the talking. A worry I hear frequently is people who are against copying styles and people who are nervous about taking inspiration because of the fear of copying someone's work. And I think the way that I've always viewed that is that we as artists have been learning from one another for longer than we could ever fathom. Art was and will forever be sharing the love of creation through shared emotion and connectivity. You grew up learning the names of classical movements from the past, and all that is learning the newer popular techniques and styles of the time, right? We've been passing down styles and techniques for generations. We learned to draw from the artists before us, and will continue to teach the artists who come after us as well. We learned to draw from somewhere or someone. We don't have movement names like Cubism or Romanticism anymore, because the period we're in right now is called the contemporary period. It's an era of shared accessibility and knowledge where we've all learned to experiment and create simultaneously, alone and together. No one owns a style, okay? No one owns a style. Styles are coined and given names. Styles are inspired and they are replicated. If styles weren't allowed to be replicated and techniques weren't allowed to be recreated, no one would have been allowed to use the rake brush when Into the Spider-Verse aired, okay? Everybody was using that thing. Everyone was figuring out how to make their own rake brushes. Everyone was downloading rake brushes. Everyone was like, you know what I'm gonna do for my concept art now? Rake brush. We all figured out the beauty of a rake brush. No one would have been allowed to use tenebrism after the Baroque period, and no one would have been allowed to use the Ben-Day dots post the late 19th century, okay? Styles are meant to be passed down. The joy of creation is meant to be shared. So then, how do we know what we are doing is correct? How do we know what path we're taking is the one that we should be taking? That's the secret. There is no such thing as correct. Sure, there are styles that work best in certain industries. There are ways to work that match certain mediums or genres, but at the end of the day, your work will be uniquely you. This is the toughest thing about your own style. I cannot tell you who you are. I cannot tell you who you'll become. As people, we're all incredibly different and nuanced and have our own thoughts, feelings, opinions, and experiences. All of this contributes to what your voice ends up being within the art that you create. There are probably styles that you love that I dislike, and vice versa. You probably grew up in a different environment than me. You probably had different things you loved, and you'll have different things that you will love. You'll also have things that you hate, you'll have things that you admire, things that you fear. All of this will culminate into what you choose to create and put out into the world. Make your line art messy. Shade with bright colors, add geometry to your highlights, add chromatic aberration for the hell of it, right? Movements weren't created because artists wanted to be correct. They were created because artists wanted to try something new and fun. Sometimes, the only thought behind the technique of a style is just that the artist thinks it looks cool. A saying I heard a while ago is that you are a mosaic of everything that you've ever loved. And what is a mosaic if not another medium of art? In creating, you are telling the world who you are. You are showing the people around you what you feel, and you're expressing it through all those elements and principles that have been drilled into you from back when you were a kid. Our styles are a reflection of us as humans. They show off our personality and what around us influenced us to become the people we are today. By creating, you are capturing what it means to be alive. To be quote-unquote correct and quote-unquote good in what we create is to say that we want to be correct and good as people. The only incorrect way to live is inauthentically. So, in turn, what does that mean for your style?